In a world where animals chirp, bark, and squeal, this little mouse sings. We dive into the diverse ecosystem of the high montane cloud forest of Central America. This habitat is in a very high altitude, humid and cold environment. The region is rich in wildlife and diversity, inhabiting immense flora such as oak trees, orchids, mosses, and shrubs, as well as a diverse array of fauna like beetles, opossums, and predators such as snakes. This little creature is named Scotonomy tsugina, a member of the genus Scotonomies, Ibsen's brown mouse, or more commonly known as the singing mouse. This group of rodents are native to the Americas, with their ancestors presumed to be from Asia via the Bering Land Bridge millions of years ago. Singing mice are insectivores similar to most mice. However, something that separates them from most species of mice is the fact that they are diurnal, or active during the day. This may be due to the fact that the main predator are weasels, which are nocturnal creatures. Occupying different sleeping times may allow them to avoid predation. With their small size, singing mice have a higher surface area to volume ratio, which means that they have a high metabolic rate that supports a very active lifestyle and high pitched vocalization, both of which require immense energy. What compels such a creature to be so vocal? One answer: the ladies. Males utilize their songs as a mating call to attract potential reproductive mates. Populations will often differ substantially between the song production, and within that population, individuals will differ as well. This can be determined by a variety of factors such as the male's response to stress and establishment of dominance over other male mice, as well as certain sex hormones. In recent studies, it actually has been found that hormones resulting from fat storages are a big indicator of the song production of the mice. These long-term shortages seem to provide them with the energy they need to make their complex vocalizations. In the food chain of the singing mouse's habitat, there are five trophic levels. The food chain consists of producers like ferns, orchids, and bromeliads, primary consumers like caterpillars and beetles, secondary consumers such as the singing mice and other insectivores, tertiary consumers such as weasels and snakes that prey on the singing mice, and decomposers such as fungi and earthworms that feed on decaying organic material and recycle nutrients back into the ecosystem. If the population of singing mice declined, the predator populations will decrease as one of the main food sources is reduced. The primary consumer population will increase as less of the predators are present, which will also decrease the producer population as an influx in primary consumers will lead to more of them being consumed. This will inevitably lead to the food chain in its habitat to collapse, as more and more producers will be overgrazed and most of the ecosystem's main energy source will become depleted. The singing mice aren't keystone species. However, a fellow secondary consumer named keel-billed toucan is. Like the singing mice, the keel-billed toucan feeds on insects like caterpillars and beetles. This often leads to both species competing with one another for food and makes it difficult for the singing mice to overconsume more than the keel-billed toucans, as a decrease in the population represents a danger to the entire ecosystem. While the singing mouse population is not currently under concern by researchers, it does not mean that it cannot be threatened. Rodents and other species are quick moving and reproduce quickly. Therefore, an invasive species introduced to the cloud forest with no natural predators could easily begin to outcompete and push out the native singing mice. These invasive species can also increase competition among the singing mice and other organisms, leading to an overconsumption of plants, which can be detrimental to the energy flow of the food chain, as well as the nutrient cycle in the environment. This similarly happened in the Amazon rainforest when semi-aquatic herbivore rodents named nutria were introduced to the environment. They quickly began spreading throughout the forest and devastated local populations as they relentlessly fed on marsh vegetation. This increased soil erosion and caused a loss of vegetation that unfortunately killed many native consumers as most of the producers were killed. If singing mice were placed in the same environment as the nutria rodents, then they will also begin to perish as they will now have to compete with an invasive species that is killing off their food supply at a significant rate that only increases the longer they stay. In noticing the devastation of the nutria, researchers moved quickly, instituting a number of conservation efforts. One such effort included releasing sterile versions of the mice that not only reduced the reproductive population, but also led to the scientists to the nest, where they were able to carry out the incentivized trapping and relocation of these species. In addition, the habitats of the singing mice often face critical issues with deforestation and habitat fragmentation, as many of the Clyde forests experience logging and land conversion as a result of agricultural expansion and urbanization. Some methods that may potentially preserve this habitat include establishing restrictions on deforestation, replanting many of the native trees and plants, as well as advocating for more sustainable agricultural practices that minimize as much habitat loss as possible. These effects must be kept in mind if something similar happens to the Clyde forest, for these mice must continue singing elegant tunes for the rest of the living organisms to admire. Fun fact: in the 2024 March Madness tournament, the singing mice showed very little competition whatsoever, losing to the leatherback sea turtle in the first round.